We're on.
there
All right, we have people joining us. Awesome. Do you want to take it away, Tiffany?
Yeah, I'll give him just a couple minutes or a couple seconds. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So let's get started. We've got a lot to cover today. Thank you for being here. Hope everyone is doing well. Just wanted to mention that our program today is being presented by the Sea Level Solutions Center and the Institute of Environment, along with the Department of Journalism and Media at Florida International University, in partnership with the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. And the Sea Level Solutions Center, if you're not aware, focuses on advancing science-based knowledge, decision-making, and actions for mitigating the causes and adapting to the effects of sea level rise and climate change. And the program today, and actually the series of interactive sessions, is made possible by a grant from the Miami-Dade Environmental Education Program. So we've got a number of sessions set up and looking forward to sharing with you. These will be on every other Thursday through October 29th from 4 to 5 p.m. We'll be covering a number of topics related to environmental sustainability. And if you attend 4 of the 5 environmental sustainability sessions, you can receive a certificate of completion. That is a great resume builder. And then also our Global Learning Medallion students can receive 1 activity point for each session that you attend. My name is Tiffany Troxler. I'm an associate professor in the Earth and Environment Department, and also the Director of Science of the Sea Level Solutions Center. So here's our agenda. So we've got a number of things in store for you today. So let's get into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria del Mar Trejos. I am also part of the Sea Level Solutions Center in the Institute of Environment. And we're going to start off with our quality of life poll. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. You should be able to see it in your Zoom screen. So the first question that should be coming up in your screen is, I am a non-student or student. These are just single choice questions. So once you clicked on your answer choice, you'll be able to scroll down and take a look at the rest of these questions. So you should be able to go ahead and start answering these. We have, in this first poll, you're going to find 6 questions and I can guide you through them. So again, for the first one, it should be, I am a student or non-student. Go ahead and select the right choice. Hopefully everyone's able to see the screen. Second question that you should be seeing on your screen right now is, the type of business where I work is either private sector, government, nonprofit, self-employed, or maybe you're not working. We're going to go ahead and give you guys about 7 to 8 minutes to answer this first poll. The third question you should be seeing right now. Is everyone able to see their poll on their screen? You're able to answer these questions in our chat box. Awesome, yeah, I can see them coming in now. Awesome. All right, so the third question we are seeing here is, what are the 3 most important things that determine your quality of life? Is it health, family and friends, happiness, freedom, learning and education, religion, being outdoors, connecting with nature, work-life balance, safety or security, a good pay or job? Some of these are multiple choice, so feel free to choose more than one answer. Fourth question you should be seeing right now is, what are the 3 most important concerns you have about sea level rise and flooding? This is a multiple choice question. You should see a number of options. Again, this one's a multiple choice, so feel free to choose the ones that are right for you. I see 40% of you have answered so far. Hopefully we can get to a larger number. The fifth question you should be seeing right now is, what are the 3 most important concerns you have about other impacts of climate change? Again, it's a multiple choice, so feel free to select multiple answers. We have a couple of minutes to answer this poll, so take your time. We have about 2 more minutes. All right, and the last question you should see is, what do you think are the 3 highest priority initiatives or actions that can be done to reduce impacts of climate change and improve your quality of life? Multiple choice questions, so go ahead and select multiple answers. All right, we have 70% of you have voted. All right, I'm just going to give you 20 more seconds and we'll go ahead and take a look at what we think. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Thank you so much for those who answered. And now I'm going to share the results with you so we can take a look at what we think. So most of us are students, woohoo, 85% of us. Most of us are not working, 56%. The 3 most important things that determine your quality of life is health, happiness, and being outdoors and connecting with nature and family and friends. Awesome. All right, what are the 3 most important concerns you have about sea level rise? Most of you answer impacts to natural habitat and wildlife. What are the 3 most important concerns you have about impacts of climate change? Most of you answer impacts to natural habitat and wildlife, increasing heat and extreme heat, and lack of awareness and no action to address it. And the last question, what do you think are the 3 highest priority initiatives or actions that can be done to reduce the impacts of climate and improve our quality of life? Most of you answer increase use of renewable energy, increase eating community initiatives that support household activities like composting, eating less meat, planting more trees, and increasing city community green infrastructures like tree planting, vegetating swells, and increased restoration and coastal habitat. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with Tiffany's presentation, and thanks again for those who answered the poll.
Great, thank you, Madi. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about sustainability. So sustainability, this is about meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And so that can be thought about in the context of sustainable development, so that you're growing your economy, as an example, without impacting the future generations and their ability to meet their needs in terms of social needs or environmental needs. And so sustainability really is about trying to balance among social, environmental, and economic aspects of our society. and understanding that these things are interconnected, so that if we impact a social dimension of sustainability, it also has impacts on our environmental and economic aspects of our society. And so some of the things we can do to achieve sustainability are to be creative, to think forward in terms of how we plan our cities and our development, utilizing things like closed loop cycle processes where you take the opportunity to regenerate from things that you produce or you use. Adapting best management practices. There are a number of things that we'll talk about today. And then also trying to take advantage of innovative technologies. We're 21st century technologies these days, and we have the opportunity to utilize those to create a more sustainable society. Next. So what are some examples of unsustainable practices? So we just put together a couple of images here. So in the context of, let's say intensive agriculture, that might result in significant water pollution, land degradation, or biodiversity loss. The overproduction, overuse, and illegal disposal of plastics is another unsustainable practice that impacts both our social, environment, and economy. Decline in biodiversity and an increase in greenhouse gases from deforestation as a result of over-consuming meat products and forest products is another example of unsustainable practice. Impacting our marine fisheries through over-harvesting, another example. And then utilizing, withdrawing water at a rate that exceeds the return of water back to aquifers. So, using more than what's being regenerated in the environment as another example of an unsustainable practice. Next. So what are some impacts of unsustainable practices? So I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard of climate change and understand what causes it. We know that our Earth has this very cozy atmospheric blanket around it, and when we accelerate the combustion of fossil fuels and we oxidize carbon and use that for fuel, that ends up in our atmosphere. And that carbon dioxide is a heat trapping gas among other heat trapping gases, and that has the effect of increasing the temperature of our atmosphere. And we know that this is resulting in, we know that the carbon dioxide concentrations in our atmosphere are nearing double what they were in hundreds of thousands of years ago. So we're well beyond what we've seen. Well, not what we've seen. We've certainly well beyond what we've seen, but the paleoecological record indicates that we have significantly higher concentrations than we have in the almost last million years. And this is resulting in warming oceans, rising sea levels, intensity, frequency, and duration of heat waves are increasing. You guys have probably heard about this on the news. Frequency of more intense storms, that's also increasing. And then we're also seeing a number of extreme precipitation events increase. Next, please. And altered nutrient cycles, another impact of unsustainable practices. So our nutrient cycles are essentially out of balance. So we're mining phosphorus for fertilizers. We're artificially creating nitrogen so that we have more nitrogen that we're artificially creating than what's produced naturally in our Earth's system. And a lot of those nutrients that we are producing aren't actually used efficiently. They don't actually end up in the food that we use or that we consume, and that, you know, we use these nutrients to produce. And where do those nutrients end up? Well, they end up in our water bodies, and they contribute to the process that we know, which is eutrophication, which is an over-enrichment of nutrients in our waterways. And this has economic impacts. So these are impacts on us of unsustainable practices. Next. So let's drill it down to Miami. So let's just take the example of altered nutrient cycles. So what are some ways in which, you know, locally we can end up with nutrient pollution? So, you know, we have we have intensive ways in which we manage water. We have our sanitary sewer system, our septic system, our stormwater systems, and we have a regional water management system that keeps water moving out of our cities so that we can continue to live here in Miami. And so in particular, in our stormwater systems, oftentimes when that rainwater runs through our cities, through our lawns, through our streets, and into our storm drains, a lot of those pollutants that are on the land surface or in the land run off into those storm drains, and those nutrients can end up in our waterways. And this can have significant impacts on local aquatic ecosystems, like overgrowth of nutrients, which can result in overgrowth of algae, which can result in overnight lows and dissolved oxygen, and can have impacts on local seagrass beds as well as aquatic life and fish in general. Next. And unfortunately, this can have significant impacts on things that we really value in Miami, like Biscayne Bay. So we've seen some warning signs of the potential for eutrophication in Biscayne Bay for some time. Scientists have identified that Biscayne Bay could be at a tipping point because of science that supports that through understanding what nutrients are flowing into and what algae patterns look like in the bay. And ILS, articulating at one time that our bay cannot any longer absorb more nutrients without algae blooms forming, and that we need to get the nutrient pollution problem under control. And these have with potential large impacts on our economy, on our tourism, and our personal assets. Next. And unfortunately, this is recently what we have documented. And earlier last month, there was a widespread fish kill, and there were also significant observations of algae blooms around northern Biscayne Bay. So this scenario is playing out in front of us at this moment. Next. 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 So what are some simple ways we can get this under control? So I encourage you, if you have a chance, to take a look at some information that has been produced by Miami-Dade County, and to try to understand how we can address the issue of nutrient pollution in Biscayne Bay. But just starting right now, we can, as individuals, embrace simple ways to reduce the impacts of unsustainable practices so they don't affect us and they don't affect future generations. So very simple things. We can, and we'll talk a lot more about this in detail through the course of our seminar. But we'll talk about composting. We'll talk about how, rather than blowing leaves into storm drains, we can put those leaves back on our yards and use it as compost on our yards. But we can also take organic waste that we otherwise throw into the trash and regenerate soil from that. So there are a number of things that we can do that are very simple that can help to turn around unsustainable practices that affect us. And it's becoming cool and savvy. Anything from using technology to sustainable footwear. There's so many different options that we can choose to take that help us as a community, and as a society to be more sustainable. And it's becoming, quite. Can you go back, Madi? Yeah, and it's becoming quite attractive to businesses. Businesses want to take sustainability practices within their operations and be able to illustrate to people that their products were produced more sustainably, and that really captures a market share that frankly younger generations seem to be pretty excited about. Next. So, and a couple of other sort of local examples. So let's just take the community impacts of urban farming and community composting. So this triangle here, it's developed by the EPA, and it's a food recovery hierarchy. So, essentially illustrating the priority things you would want to do in order to recover food. So the most important thing is to, source reduction. So not to consume as much food, so then we're not wasting as much food. Whereas the last thing you want to do with food is to throw it into the landfill. But these simple practices can produce greener neighborhoods, enhance social inclusion, create jobs, build education opportunities and skills, and help to promote social equity and community engagement. Next. And a number of organizations locally are tremendous at doing this kind of work. The Opelika Community Development Corporation, working with Health in the Hood, a really cool urban farm that's now taken some composting initiatives or composting activities and associated with those, with that farm. North Miami has got a really active, resilient North Miami initiative, and many cities, in fact, around Miami-Dade County are aggressively pursuing resilience initiatives and sustainability initiatives. Next. And even here in FIU's campus, we've got the agroecology program. We've got composting going on our campus right now that anyone could participate in if they could get around the social distancing. I'm just kidding. Those activities will be open and will resume shortly. And then the sustainability activities that are run out of the parking sustainability and transportation office. So there are many things going on campus that people can participate in as well. So if there's any, we can think about this, well, why go to all this trouble? Well, why not? What if it is a big hoax and all we do is create a better world? Next. Okay, Alyssa, take it away.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. So we got a lot of questions from the registration. However, a few of them were answered here during Tiffany's presentation. And we also had a bunch of questions that will be answered later on in the future seminars. So for example, ones that are related to heat, we'll be answering it during the heat webinar. But we do have a few that I think we can take down now. We have one that asks how to implement or get approval for sustainability initiatives in a work setting, or more specifically, how to implement it in any workspace.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably, you know, there are programs, there are certificate programs that one can adopt for their businesses. So I guess it'd be helpful to know a little bit more about what you know, issues you might be running into. But you know, for example, you know, there's a sustainability group in the associated in the city of Miami Beach, and they decided that they would start an initiative that would reduce single-use plastics, and took it to the city, and now it's adopted as a resolution and a citywide practice. So I think it's probably just about getting started and navigating those initial uncertainties, but yeah, please reach out to us if you have any more, if we can help you with that.
Yeah, awesome. I also know that many non-green companies hire sustainability managers to implement things, so that also works too. We have another question asking, which local organizations do you recommend if you want to join and become a part of the solution?
Well, I understand there are a number of environmental groups on campus. You guys probably know. Alyssa, Madi, you can name, I think, name some of those organizations.
So FIU has FIU Go Green, which is part of the sustainability office. And then as far as local organizations, two of the big ones that have a lot of, that are participating a lot are CLEO, which is CLEO, and Miami Climate Alliance. They're very involved and always looking for help, whether it's advocating or getting the word out, community engagement. So definitely those two are really where you can get started, and checking out FIU Go Green as well.
I would also like to mention Sustainable Souls at MMC, and I know they were trying to probably work something out at the BBC campus. They're super active. There's a lot of group chats. There's also Glades at FIU. So I would say try to get connected to those group chats. They're constantly posting opportunities and different organizations, very, very active groups that I would suggest getting involved with.
We should,
Awesome.
Alyssa, we should probably mention Catalyst Miami.
Oh, yes.
As well as Miami Waterkeeper.
Yes.
Always looking for help.
There's also volunteer.org. They're constantly having beach cleanups by Dave Dubler. So you can go down the rabbit hole. There's amazing organizations in Miami. They're terrific, and most of them are always accepting volunteers.
Yes, you can find all of these organizations on Instagram. I know because I follow them all. So I think, Madi, it's time for our How Did We Do poll.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and launch a poll. Let's see, how did we do? So I'm going to go ahead and get you guys started with the second poll. Again, some of these are multiple choice questions, so just choose the one that's right for you. The first question you should see on your screen is true or false. Is carbon dioxide a greenhouse gas? Let us know, yes or no. The second question you should be seeing on your screen, let me get my mouse to work, awesome. What are sources of pollution from the land that can enter our waterways? This is a multiple choice question. I'm gonna give you a few minutes to answer these questions. There should be 6. Right, hopefully you're able to see on your screen the poll. I know the results take a little to load on my end. So when you scroll down after you've selected the right answer choice for you, the third question you should be seeing is, what are unsustainable practices? Again, this is a multiple choice question, so select the ones that seem right to you. fourth question is, what are the 3 pillars of sustainability? It's also multiple choice.
Oopsie.
All right, number 5 is, how can composting reduce the impact of global change, essentially climate change and alter nutrient cycles? This is a multiple.
Sorry guys, we saw that there was a little typo on here. You're absolutely right. That society, economy, and environment. That was on question 4.
Yes, so the question should be, what are 2 of the 3 pillars of sustainability?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for catching that. All right, so our 6th question and our last question is, what does Miami Fertilizer Ordinance propose? Gonna give you guys 30 more seconds so we can go over what we're thinking.
Sorry, we didn't cover the fertilizer ordinance, but we will.
So,
So you guys will be ready for when we get to that. You'll know what the questions are.
I was happy to see some of the registrants or some of the people that are here. I'm sure some of you are very involved, and it's really nice to see you all connecting again. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll so we can go over what we're thinking. All right, so carbon dioxide, is it a greenhouse gas? Most of you said yes. So what are the sources of pollution from the land that can enter our waterways? Fertilizers. What are unsustainable practices? Overfishing. What are the 3 pillars of sustainability? Society, economy. All
And
right.
environment.
And environment, yeah, that's the one that I don't see. Okay, economic was the one that was double. All right, and the 5th question, how can composting reduce the impacts of global change, climate change, and alter nutrient cycles? Most of you answer composting can decrease the need for fertilizers in gardens and landscaping. Yep. And what does Miami Fertilizer Ordinance propose? All of the above. Woohoo! Awesome. I'm sorry, you guys were not seeing the results. Now you should be able to see them. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with our presentation. I know Dr. Susan Jacobson has a really exciting application she's going to be sharing with us. Dr. Susan Jacobson, I believe you're on mute.
Good. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna, can you unshare your screen for a sec?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share a screen in a minute, but I wanted to introduce myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Susan Jacobson. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Journalism and Media here at FIU. I teach classes like web design, environmental communication, digital theories. I do research in the expressive qualities of digital multimedia. I also work in misinformation and disinformation in politics and science. So I'm doing a lot of work in that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a website that we have created to go along with our educational project. The goal of what the work that we do, Tiffany and I and Mari and Elisa, is to not only help educate everybody, but to provide tools that will help you citizens take action on some of these very important issues. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. All right, so this is the MISON website. MISON stands for the Miami Environmental Science Action Network. And so we put a lot of our upcoming events and a lot of our applications and a lot of the data that we've collected from previous events into this website. So we have all the global learning events are here on our upcoming events tab. So if you want to remember, if you want to earn that, those special points and certificates through the Global Learning Center, You can come here and remember and find out and see when the next event is. So we put a lot of our upcoming events, we put some of the webinars that we have covered here on our blog. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about some of the projects that we do. So we have several projects that are kind of ongoing and evolving. One of the first ones that we have been involved with is talking to communities about composting, recycling, and waste management. So to try to help people understand how to compost, why composting is so important, and composting after composting, recycling, and then also to help people really try to pay attention to the amount of waste that they put in landfills. So we have a lot of resources on the topic of composting on our website, but we have also a little application. So a little application that allows you to document your composting. So what we do is we invite you to tell us who you are, measure the weight of your compost. We have a little video that shows you how to do that. Take a picture of your compost container. Tell us how you're composting and anything else that you want to tell us. And what we're doing is we're collecting kind of snapshots of how citizens around Miami-Dade County are integrating composting into their lives. And so perhaps you're new to composting, but what you really like to do is recycling. We have an app for that too. So here again, similar thing, tell us who you are, where you are, tell us about how much you're recycling, give us a picture of your lovely recycling. And finally, we have one for landfill. And this is for letting us know what part of your resources are going to the landfill. And the idea behind here is simply to help citizens become a little bit more aware of what they're doing, of you know, how they're managing their resources, and also to encourage people to undertake composting and recycling. Okay, and for example, here on the composting site, on the composting page, we have like a little guide on what to compost, what not to compost. We have a couple videos on how to compost as well. So it's very easy and fun. Even if you live in an apartment or a condo like me, you can certainly compost. Some of the other projects that we have done include this project called Miami Shade, which has to do with heat monitoring around Miami-Dade County. And so one of the consequences of climate change is increased extreme heat. So we are certainly susceptible to it here in Miami-Dade County. So one of our little projects involves placing little tiny, we call them eye buttons. They're little devices. They're very inconspicuous. We put them in public places, like under a park bench, on a street sign, in a parking garage. And they sit there for about 3 months, and they capture temperature data. And then when they're, after 3 months, we take them back, and then we can see what the temperature ranges were that the little eye buttons caught. And so this map is an example where we placed eye buttons. Here, let me make this bigger. We placed our eye buttons around Miami-Dade County between at different times of the year. One of the most interesting ones was in June. Okay. And each of the little dots here represent an eye button, and it will tell you what some of the higher temperatures were on the eye button. Oh, this is the placement, right? Okay. All right. So in addition to that, we also undertake sea level rise. So every fall, if you live in Miami, you're probably aware that the tides are higher in the fall, and sometimes that leads to flooding in the streets. The water literally overtakes the sewers and drainage system and comes out onto the streets. So every fall we look up, we have a little application that tells us when the highest high tides are. So if I'm going to enter the address for MMC. So if I put an FIU, okay. So here's Florida International University, the MMC campus. So this little calendar tells us when the highest high tides are going to be, anything over 2.5 feet. And we know that in October, on the 17th and the 18th, the tides are going to be close to about 3 feet. Now these projections are actually from NOAA, and they tend to be a little bit lower than actual, but they do tell you relative height, how high the tides are. So we look at the calendar, we figure out when the highest high tides might be, and then we ask citizens to go out and document any flooding during the king tides. So for example, here, this was Sea Level Solutions Day on October 27th last year. And this is from September. Oh, this one's not going to be coming up, is it? Okay, there it is. And this one was something that we did in the neighborhood of Shorecrest, which is a neighborhood in the city of Miami that's right on the bay. And it's kind of famous for having a lot of flooding. So we sent out teams of people just in this neighborhood about a month after Hurricane Irma. And so
Susan, I'm sorry to jump in. Unfortunately, some people are not able to see your screen right now. Is anybody else having that problem? I know Catherine Espina is not able to see it.
Okay.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it as well.
Okay.
No, apparently some people can see. Oh,
And
wow.
some people can. Okay.
Wow, that's weird.
It seems like Catherine, I think, oh, it loaded. All right. Well,
Okay.
sorry to cut you guys off. We got it.
That's okay.
All
All
right.
I want to make sure everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be very quick then. Sorry if anyone can't see. So anyhow, so this map shows three times of day when we collected, when we went out and we documented flooding, or 3 different days when we went out and documented flooding. And so some of the highest was not on October 7, and you can see the water got up to 17.5 inches. So if I click here, I can see some pictures. Oops, sorry. Oh, clicking on things. I can see some photos from what we collected. It tells you where we collected that data. Let me find one with a good photo on it. Okay. Flood close-up. Okay, so you get the idea. So it gets very, very floody in Shorecrest. And so we ask people to photograph how high the water is. Here the water depth was 15 inches. We asked them to take a picture of the water depth. Let's see if we have that here. Yes, okay, so you can see, you stick a measuring stick into the water and you can really see how deep the water is. And also we also take samples of the water that are then later analyzed in the lab at FIU. So we do all of these activities, and we document most of them here. We have a little sea level rise app, which is kind of fun. This allows you to enter your location. Let's enter the BBC campus. And then you can see, oh, sometimes it takes a minute to paint. You can see how sea level rise might impact it, up to 6 feet of sea level rise. There we go. So as blue as the water gets, it takes a minute to paint sometimes. As blue as the water gets is an indication of the extent of how much how much of Miami-Dade County might be impacted by up to 6 feet of sea level rise. Okay, I'm just going to do one more thing.
Without any interventions.
Without any interventions, yes, indeed. Okay.
Awesome. I think
Okay.
now
Let me
is,
do one more thing.
oh,
So
okay.
one more thing I wanted to let everyone know about is that there is a place if you're interested in participating. If you come to the Nissan site, which is at nissan.miami, and you go to the Take Action tab, you can send us your name and email, and we can sign you up for some of our citizen science activities. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Susan. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Right now, we're going to do a segment called Reflection on Environmental Sustainability. So Mari and I are both sustainability majors. Well, I've graduated already, but sustainability majors at FIU. And I wanted to give a little bit of my personal experience. So let me just pull this up. I had the pleasure last year of helping the city of Miami with their greenhouse gas emissions inventory. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. So here's just some general information. I worked for the Office of Resilience and Sustainability. So what's great is that municipalities or cities and counties have these kinds of offices in place. And for example, you can see right here in this little flow chart or this little circle chart, the different kind of things that these kinds of offices focus on, specifically the city of Miami's. And my project was doing a greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So basically the greenhouse gases are those that are, contributing to global warming. And essentially you can see down here in this CO2 by category, essentially that's what a greenhouse gas inventory looks like. It basically takes the different parts of either a city or a community and figures out how much they're emitting. What's really cool about this is that how much they emit is how much they're contributing to climate change. And if the emissions go down, then they're essentially reducing their carbon footprint. And also another thing that's really cool about emission inventories is that it can be implemented at a city level, county. The United States has done an entire emissions inventory. So this is just one aspect of sustainability that really holds weight on sustainability itself and like the fight for climate. And so essentially, like I said, it has so many important factors to it. It gives people an understanding of what's going on in that specific entity or community. And it gives baselines so that way they're able to say, we need to reduce from here on out, and then essentially make their change. The thing that I found most interesting was my inventory was 2 parts. We did focusing on the city of Miami's government and also the city of Miami community. This part for me really showed me how much even at the individual level, you're making a difference. So when you look at the community subsectors, you see that there's solid waste, transportation, water and wastewater. All the information that I used was basically your water bills, your electricity bills, the amount that is used up by the community. And that made me realize that me turning on and off my light at home or leaving it on when I walk out of the room really does play a part even in the city's like emissions and like how much me at my house am I contributing to the greater cause or the greater issue. And so another cool thing about my internship there was we were able to do community outreach meetings. And during that time, we spoke with different individuals and heard about their concerns. And you really realize that sustainability touches everybody and in all aspects. People were stressed about their flooding and how it would affect them and how they needed to live a more sustainable life. And it was just overall, I would say that these kinds of things are the things that apply everywhere, not just in the sustainability sector. It can be at a city level or even with a certain company, like that question that we asked. It can be implemented at any specific company. It doesn't have to be a green company. So I think that it's really important to take into consideration the fact that everybody plays a part and everybody has a contribution, and you should do not everything that it takes, but where you can, try to play your part. Turn off your light. Don't run the water for too long, because essentially it'll end up affecting the Miami's emissions. And Mari, with that, I'll give it to you to share your experience.
Thank you, Alyssa. That was very insightful. So to tell you a little bit about, hello? Oh, you can hear me. Oh my God, the screen left and I was like, where am I? Okay, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about my experience. I had the opportunity to do an internship with the Biscayne Bay Health Summit. I was able to see firsthand how all these amazing organizations in Miami get together and they organize themselves to make things happen. I also realized how political sometimes sustainability can be. So it is important, I would say, to keep up with your local government, I would say, because you also have a lot of power. I've seen firsthand how our behaviors can become a ripple effect to our friends and family. One of my aha moments was when I was living in the dorms and my roommates, they didn't recycle and they didn't really think about it. And neither did the administration in the building. And I was like, hey, what if we provide, like a bin to all the dorms and they can start recycling? And I started seeing change in my friends. So I would encourage you to also start by having the conversations, whatever you learn, to just share it with your family, with your friends, with your community members, to get involved. You don't have to have like all the perfect skills. You'll realize how much you learn once you get involved. And that's essentially what happened to me with my first internship, and then other opportunities that started to opening up. I had the opportunity to work for Sea Level Solutions Center. And again, it's been always like an eye-opening experience to see how much people dedicate their life to sustainability and to actually improve our communities. Because what Alyssa said, sustainability is not just about, oh, let's save the environment, save trees and the animals. It's like, okay, well, we're talking about like health issues. We're talking about like injustices. We're talking about a lot of different topics. So I would just say, try to get involved. Whatever you learn, share with your friends and family. And yeah, I can say that everything is interconnected. So it's been very, very interesting to see. And we can really make a change on an individual level and then, as a ripple effect.
Awesome. So we do have 3 more minutes on this segment, and we're curious if any of you attendees have had such an experience like ours where you'd like to share with everybody else that you feel like you've played a part in environmental sustainability. Feel free to jump on, unmute yourselves, write it in the chat.
I wonder if they're able to unmute themselves. I'm not sure that may be an option to them, but if you're able to get in, like if you want to say something, you're more than welcome to just drop it in the chat. So we'll be happy to read those for you. I can see some of you here. Camila, for example, Quaresma, sorry if I butchered your last name. She was actually part of my internship, part of the board of the Biscayne Bay Health Summit. So again, if you guys want to share some of your experiences, please type them in the chat. I'll be happy to read them on your behalf.
Maybe in the meantime, as they do that, we can start the satisfaction survey, but go ahead and definitely write in, because we want to know, we want to hear
from you guys. Yeah. Alrighty, so in the meantime, while you're thinking or maybe typing your question, your answer, I'm gonna go ahead and launch this last poll. It's essentially a satisfaction poll. So how would you rate today's webinar? Let us know what you truly think. And let us also know if you'd like to participate in any of the upcoming citizen science events. Again, we will be hosting a couple of series of events like Dr. Truxler mentioned. So keep up with that. Also join the MISAN website. You'll see all the updates of our upcoming webinars, not just this series, but we do have one, for example, with the city of North Miami, and we also have one with the city of Miami on sustaining Miami with water, and essentially, and we'll be doing one on urban heat and forestry soon with Rethink Energy. So there's a lot of cool organizations we'll be collaborating with. Let me go into my presentation and share with you this last resources. Share my screen. All right, so yeah, you can sign up to our citizen science event here. We are actually looking for volunteers for our next Sea Level Solutions Day to take some water samples. So if you're interested, please let us know.
Mari, sorry to jump in, but we had a question if these events will be virtual. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Yeah. So all these events are going to be virtual. The only thing that we're coordinating right now is the sample taking for the Sea Level Solutions Day. So we'll give you guys a little bit more information on that when the time comes, but we'll be doing a webinar on that. And yeah, so does anybody else have anything else they'd like to share with us? Dr. Truxler, any last words you'd like to say?
Thanks everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next interactive session.
Yeah, come join us. Thank you so much, everyone.
Once again, the next one is September 17th. So you guys can join us. I had sent the schedule in the chat. So we have September 17th, 4 p.m. All of these are going to be at from 4 to 5. September 17th, then October 1st, October 15th, and October 29th. Feel free to send us an email if you need us. We appreciate it. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Take care. See you in the next one.
Bye.